Is the White House going to use the threat of domestic terrorism as an excuse to curtail your right to bear arms? Yeah, of course they are. Hi, people of the interwebs. My name is John Crump. I am an investigative journalist with MLN News, the best damn website on the planet, where I report on the ATF, FBI, and the agencies and organizations that want to violate your God-given and constitutionally protected right to bear arms. I am also a gun rights activist. I'm currently serving as the Virginia Director for Gun Owners of America, Washington, D.C.'s only no-compromise gun lobby. And guess what? The people in D.C. want to violate your right to bear arms, and they're going to use any excuse that they have to do so. I am talking about the document that was released by the White House called the National Strategy of Countering Domestic Terrorism. Yes, it sounds very, very scary, but let's dig into it before we get into why, as a gun owner, you should be concerned about this. The document says there's a rise of domestic violent extremists, also known as DVEs, and it gives some factors and why these groups are growing. One is if people are afraid that the government is overreaching their boundaries, they might be DVEs, or domestic violent extremists, or on the path to become domestic violent extremists. It actually says the perceived government overreach will almost certainly continue to drive DVE radicalization and mobilization to violence. What is really funny is, although groups like Antifa and BLM, the corporate edition, are not mentioned at all, even though they've burned down cities, caused countless millions of damage, calls people their lives and everything else, it highlights the militia movement, the patriot movement, the 3%ers and stuff like that, that they call domestic violent extremists, even though those groups aren't the ones that are actually causing violence or out there, burning down cities, causing millions of dollars worth of damage, killing people left and right. But those are the groups that are targeted. They actually call them militia violent extremists, or MVEs. They love their acronyms, right? So even though the left-wing groups are the ones that are burning down cities and doing all this other crap and causing millions of dollars of damages, they highlight the January 6th incursion at the Capitol, whatever you want to call it. Whether you call it a overrun of the Capitol, a protest at the Capitol, or even if you do refer to it as an insurrection, even though I don't believe it was an insurrection, but if you do, that's on you, man. You can have whatever you want. They highlight that as the most threatening thing in the country, no matter that, cities literally burned down, that people literally lost their lives, and that, parts of cities were overtaken for weeks at a time by Antifa. None of those are mentioned, which is kind of funny. It also claims that if you think that there might have been election fraud, or believe that there might be election fraud, then you might be a DVE, domestic violent extremist. All right. So all those reasons are what they give for people becoming domestic violence extremists. In addition to, if you question anything that deals with COVID, then you're a DVE. Kind of funny, right? But what does this have to do with gun ownership? Well, strategic goal 2.1, it has 4 pillars, and pillar 2, strategic goal 2.1, deals with supply and demand of what helps people become DVEs. And let me just read this for you. While those who break the law in furtherance of domestic terrorism must face investigation and prosecution for their crimes, It is equally important that the federal government engage in an effort to prevent individuals from being drawn into the grip of domestic terrorism in the first instance. All right. Maybe you agree with that, maybe you don't. That means reducing the both supply and demand of recruitment materials by limiting the widespread availability online, bolstering the resilience to it by those who nonetheless counter it. Among those measures, okay, so basically they're going to go and stomp a little bit on freedom of speech. I see that. Yeah, that's bad. That's very bad for the First Amendment, but it also attacks the Second Amendment in a minute. But let me talk about the freedom of speech. All right, freedom of speech has never been meant to protect popular ideas. The whole thing of freedom of speech is it protects unpopular ideas, because popular ideas will always be accepted by the masses. Unpopular ideas are the ones that get stomped down. And that's what freedom of speech is about. It's about being able to express your individual ideas, even if it goes against the mainstream ideas of other people. So right there, they're going to try to stomp that down. You know, I don't agree with a lot of different philosophies out there, Nazi philosophies, for example, or any other kind of crazy philosophies preaching violence for any type of like racial reasons or anything like that. But I don't think that Nazi philosophy, all that should be banned from the internet or anywhere else, because freedom of speech, right? Stormhammer was a big website that had a bunch of Nazis and evil stuff, and they were just spewing hate and stuff that I really can't get behind. But I can't say that they should be banned from the internet. I think that they should be allowed to exist and spew their hate, because that's freedom of speech. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that I have to agree with it, but I do think that you have a right to say it. All right, let's get back into this. All right. It also means reducing access to assault weapons and high-capacity magazines and enforcing legal prohibitions that keep firearms out of dangerous hands. Such prevention efforts must be pursued while safeguarding civil liberties or civil rights and civil liberties, including privacy protections, while avoiding discrimination, bias, and stereotyping. Okay, so let's talk about that. What does that mean? It means that they're going to use domestic violence and domestic terrorism as an excuse to try to make it harder for you to get magazines and weapons like the AR-15, which is the most popular gun in America. The modern sporting rifle is in the hands of 100 million people, and it's used for good more than it's used for evil. Look at Stephen Williford. Stephen Williford used his AR-15 to engage a mass murderer who just killed a bunch of people at a church and was going to go do it again at another church. He used his AR-15 to engage that killer and end his rampage. He engaged him with 7 rounds in the chamber and was able to stop that guy from doing more damage. He is a friend, and he is an all-around great guy. Stephen Williford, I know you watch my videos, so thank you for all that you do. You are amazing American. There's also another story of a woman who was pregnant. There was a home invader, and invaders, and she was able to use her AR-15 to protect her family from these home invaders. Who knows what would have happened? Well, if the Biden administration gets their way, they're going to be labeled domestic violent extremists, and their firearms is going to be taken. The AR-15 is a modern musket, and we have to protect that because the AR-15 is a symbol of freedom. I have my AR-15s, and my AR-15s have never hurt a single person. But if I need to protect my family, what do you think I'm going to grab? I'm going to grab my AR-15 because it's the most effective tool for that calls. So this plan wants to restrict firearms. It is kind of funny that this comes out on maybe the eve or a few days before the David Chipman confirmation vote, because David Chipman back in 2018 wrote something for Giffords where he wants to bump stock magazines. What do I mean by that? He wants to change the determination of magazines, basically make them machine guns, put them on the NFA and make them machine guns, because he says that a detachable magazine speeds up the rate of fire, therefore should be regulated like a machine gun, which is absolutely insane to me. So this just shows you that the Biden administration is at war with the American gun owner and is at war with you and me. I have an article dropping at 6 p.m. today about this on AmmoLand. It will be linked below. I also will link the actual document if you want to read through it, because there's a lot more into it, but I'm just covering it from the gun angle here, because I don't want to get too much into the weeds on other things. But it's a scary document, and they're going to be going after a lot of people. So I just want you to be aware of that and to know that they are coming after our guns and our rights. All right. My name is John Crump. I have a Patreon. If you want to help me out, create all this neat content, dig into this stuff, read all these documents all day, and do the FOIA requests, get the leaks, and everything else, you can go ahead and support me on Patreon. It would mean the world to me. But if you can't do that, I understand. Just please, please, please like and share this video. Let me know what you think of this. I'm really curious to see what you guys take away of this document. If you read the document, drop me a comment below and let me know what else I missed in there, or if I got anything wrong. The comment section is for that. I also have a live channel where I do streams with a lot of different people. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. We have a big community there. And join my Discord as well. With all that out of the way, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keeping the fight. I'm out. See ya. Bye.